All right, so in the last video, I showed you how to find a rolling offset using the offset, run, travel, and angle functions in the PyTrades Pro. However, that method can be a little bit confusing because we're using run, offset, and travel in places where that's not what they're labeled in the diagram. And we're also doing things like calling side A the travel and then calling side A the offset. So that way can be a little bit confusing. If it doesn't make sense, I'm going to show you the old-fashioned way of doing it, which is just using Pythagorean theorem and then inverse tangent functions. So we're going to go to problem 7 here. We have a set of 3 feet, a roll of 11 feet, and an advance of 7 feet. So I'm just going to go ahead and label my diagram. So my set is 3 feet, my roll is 11 feet, and then my advance is 7 feet. Now when I do this, I always like to draw out my 2 separate triangles. It's just easier for me to visualize what I'm trying to solve if I can look at the 2 separate pieces. So this triangle right here is the triangle basically on the back wall of our diagram using the set, the roll, and then side A. And then this big triangle right here, this is going to be the triangle created by that diagonal A, my advance, and then my travel going across. So this triangle is a slanted triangle that's like slicing through the rectangle. All right, so my set is 3 feet, my roll is 11 feet, and my advance is 7 feet. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna solve the little triangle first and then use that to solve the bigger triangle. So over here, we have 2 sides of our triangle, so we can use Pythagorean theorem to solve for the missing side. And since this is my longest side, this would be the c squared in Pythagorean theorem. So it's going to look like 3 feet squared plus 11 feet squared is equal to c squared. And then we would take the square root to solve for the c, or side A in this case. So in my calculator, I'm going to do 3 feet squared plus 11 feet squared equals, to add those 2 together and then take the square root of that. So A is going to be 11 feet 4 and 13/16 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and label that over here as well. So 4 and 13/16, 11 feet 4 and 13/16. All right, now if I want to solve for angle C, this is where I'm going to have to use a trig function. So from angle C, I'm going to label my opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. So we've got opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. And now since we have all 3 sides, really doesn't matter which trig function we can use, but I'm going to use the 2 given sides just in case I made a mistake finding this. It just ensures that this is still going to be correct. So we're going to use my opposite and adjacent since that's my given information. Opposite and adjacent is going to be a tangent function. And since we are solving for the angle, we want to use the inverse tangent function. So I'm going to say the tangent inverse of my opposite, which is 11 feet, divided by my adjacent, which is 3 feet, is equal to my angle C. And then in my calculator, I'm just going to do 11 feet divided by 3 feet. And it is good to use units here, even though they cancel out, because when you, just kidding, it's not necessary at all. But if you were doing this and you wanted to go back and find another side, you would keep those units. But in this case, it's not going to matter because we're getting degrees, so you don't actually have to put feet. All right, so I did 11 divided by 3 is 3.666, and then we're going to take the inverse tangent of that. So we're going to do convert tangent, and we get 74.74. If I want that in degrees, minutes, and seconds, we're going to get 74.44.42 is equal to angle C. All right, now angle C doesn't really help me with this. All I really need is the side lengths. So just like with this triangle, since we have 2 sides, we can use Pythagorean theorem to solve for the missing side. So again, this is going to be my c squared since it's the longest side. So we're going to do 7 feet squared plus 11 feet 4 and 13/16 inches squared. Add those together take the square root, and we get a travel of 13 feet, 4 and 9/16 inches. All right, and then if I want to solve for angle B, it's pretty much the same process as we did over here. So we're going to do opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse, use the givens, opposite and adjacent. So we're going to take the tangent inverse since we're solving for an angle, and we're going to do 11 feet, 4 and 13/16 inches divided by 7 feet. Now in this case, when we're dividing on our calculator, it will be beneficial to put it in feet and inches just because it will allow us to put these units as a fraction rather than having to convert to a decimal. So I'm going to, in my calculator, do 11 feet, 4 inches and 13/16 divided by 7 feet. And then we're going to take the inverse tangent of that, and we get 58.45, convert to degrees, minutes, seconds, and we get 58.27.03 degrees is equal to angle B. And that's everything. So solving this way is nice because it's pretty much the same exact steps to solve this triangle and to solve this triangle. Nothing really changes. We're doing Pythagorean theorem, and then we're taking the inverse tangent.